Ed Schultz, thanks for appearing on the UpTake, and welcome to Netroots Nations.
Good to be here.
Your thoughts on Netroots Nations and why you're here?
Well, first of all, I'm honored to be asked to be here. It's a growing nation, more and more influential in every election cycle, more and more people accessing the new media, more and more people getting the truth unfiltered, and a bevy of ideas and opinions. And it's not going away anytime soon. The great thing about this, it's never going to be owned by any one or two or three outfits. This is as American as it gets. It's a very exciting time in communication.
You'll be speaking tonight with Governor Schweitzer of Montana. What kind of words might we hear? What are you looking forward to talk about with him?
Well, I think that since the '08 election, there has been a bit of disappointment in the progressive movement about not pushing hard enough on what was the basic Democratic platform when it came out of the convention. One of them, obviously, was universal health care. It was never on the table. And there just seemed to be somewhat of a level of acceptance by a lot of Democrats at that point. And I just hearken back to maybe if some people in the Netroots had pushed a little bit harder, maybe been a little bit more organized, more dogmatic about it, we might have been able to do better than just a few people getting arrested at a Senate hearing that were excluded because they weren't seated at the table. I really think that that was a big moment. It was early in the first year of the Obama administration, and I think that that was a real benchmark issue. Had Netroots pushed back harder on that moment, we might have been able to come out with a better health care bill. And I think that there's I sense that there's a lack of confidence in the Netroots Nation, that everybody's excited, everybody wants to be involved, but there's not the collective push that maybe could be done to make a difference. And I think as growth and development of the Netroots Nation goes on, that'll work itself out.
Are the conservatives and the Tea Party movement, are they beating us in the messaging right now?
Well, I think they're masters at getting their face in front of the camera, and I think that they're very good at I guess you could say, mounting the charge in a 24-hour news cycle, and they seem to have a very strong counterpunch. But I think that there have been a few instances that have really exposed the Tea Party for some of their vulnerabilities that I think is, I guess you could call the soft underbelly of where they are philosophically.
Yeah. That
they may not be, in many respects, the answer for America.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Do they have staying power, and any predictions for the midterm elections?
I think the Tea Party does have staying power because they have enough people who are visible. Sarah Palin is probably the most visible person out there that seems to give tremendous compliments to what the Tea Party folks are trying to accomplish. They certainly are able to get on, Fox News whenever they want to. So they have an infrastructure and an engine of communication that is pretty good early on in their development.
And what are your reactions to the news today that Harry Reid and the Senate has basically, watered down the climate bill even more?
Well, it's basically falls in line with everything else, that once again the progressive movement doesn't get everything at once. And once again, they'll probably present this to the American people as a great start. Just like the health care bill was a great start, just like financial reform has been a great start. So I'm sure that it will be sold to the American people that this too is a move in the right direction. But I think one of the problems that the Democrats have had is that they have pretty much fallen in love with negotiating with themselves. And I think they may have realized a little bit too late in this first 2 years of the Obama administration that the Republicans were serious about obstruction. They were serious about Waterloo. They were serious about breaking him. They were serious about not cooperating and reinventing the filibuster for something that it was never really intended to be. The filibuster was not intended to be a legislative tool to make sure that the country didn't move forward. The filibuster was there to make sure that minority voices were heard, but statesmanship would always have been respected and majority rule would win out. And for the Netroots to sit back and see this transpire as a record number of filibusters, if this isn't a motivating factor, I don't know what it's going to be.
Yeah.
I would be lost for an answer to if this number of filibusters doesn't energize the grassroots, no matter what the Obama administration does, no matter what the Democrats accomplish. I mean, the Republicans have opened the door for everybody to see how they want to operate.
Right. What does the Netroots and the progressive media and blogosphere have to do going forward?
Well, number one, don't give up. Number two, stay on top of the issues. And number three, I think, hold elected officials accountable. Because they have a D behind their name doesn't mean that they're going to be the absolute best candidate. I mean, I think you've got to hold people to what the platform is. I mean, what do you stand for? I mean, you got to have a list of priorities, and how does that check out with the candidates that you're interested in?
Yeah. I mean, the Democratic Congress has tackled some big issues and pushed through some legislation, though watered down. I mean, what's the most important next step for President Obama and the Democrats? I mean, is it immigration? Is it clean energy?
I think one of the motivating things for the base would be, and I don't know if this is going to be their strategy, but I certainly would use it. I would start telling the American people that, you know, we got a health care bill, and we're going to add to it. I mean, they've got to start telling progressives that, you know, we're going to add to this, and this is what we're going to add. This is what we've got implemented, you know, early on in the bill. These are the things: the pre-existing conditions gone, the can't drop your insurance. I mean, there's some real solid positive stuff that's in there. A lot of Americans are going to get covered. 30-some-odd million Americans are going to get coverage, and there's going to be a subsidy to low-income folks. It's going to bring down the cost over 10 years. It's going to save lives. I mean, these are good things to talk about and good things to run on, but they also have to say, we didn't get everything we want, but we're going to push for more, and this is what we're going to go. Like, I would like to know, are they going to put the public option on the table?
Yeah.
Are they going to work towards having a government entity to give the private sector some real competition? That's what I would do.
Harry Reid will be here on Saturday speaking to us. I've heard rumors that he might be booed for what happened today with respect to a climate bill. How should we react to Harry Reid coming?
Well, I think that Harry should probably expect the tough questions. And I think he should be able to anticipate what those questions are going to be. And I think he should come here with the full intention of not giving anybody any generic talk.
Yeah.
I mean, Harry is a powerful guy.
Yeah.
He's just not some one-term or two-term senator coming into the Netroots. I mean, this is a big deal that he's here, and he's got to say something. He's got to, I think, set direction of what the majority party is going to do if they maintain the majority. I don't think Harry should come here and say the Republicans are bad, they obstruct. Don't tell us things that we already know.
Right.
Where do you want to go? What's your plan for jobs? You know, what are we at a point right now where maybe the majority party would embrace the idea of public employment in the energy sector? And so I think the Democrats are going to have to stop playing defense and start talking about what they're going to do in January when they get the next 2-year shot at this.
If you had a chance to have 5 minutes alone with President Obama, would you give him solid encouragement, a rally speech, or would you constructively criticize him?
Well, it depends what the parameters would be. I mean, you just don't get in front of the president unless he knows what's going on. What would I like to talk to him about? I'd like to talk to him about why doesn't he use progressive media? Why is it that this administration doesn't treat MSNBC the way the Bush administration treated Fox? And I think that's a legitimate question. Their philosophy is not to talk to the base. Their philosophy seems to be to let the base figure it out.
Yeah.
And one thing the Bush administration did, whenever they wanted to get their message out, they did the one-on-ones on Fox repeatedly, again and again, to make sure the base knew that they were solid in their philosophy and their direction. And I think the Obama administration needs some coaching in that regard. And I think it would be to their advantage.
One final thing, an opportunity to plug the book. To tell us about your book.
Well, Killer Politics, and I guess I'm somewhat amazed at how what I wrote about we've seen unfold in front of our eyes in the last 6 months. I finished writing it back in January, and what happened after that, the way healthcare came down, the way big insurances worked us over, the way Wall Street got breaks, the way the middle class continues to be hammered, the way the influence in Washington is going to be a real tough branch to break off the tree. I wanted, and the book basically is a culmination of all of the town hall meetings that I did and the ideas that I got from people that I listened to when I was on the road for 18 months before the election. And it's what I heard. It's what I felt was the pulse of the country, that working families are not moving forward. They're barely hanging on and falling backwards, whereas the top 2% is continuing to thrive, where the corporate interest is still driving the agenda. And the outsourcing of jobs is probably one of our biggest issues, and I'm not convinced that anybody's really addressing that. So generically, those were the things that, I mean, I hit on energy, I hit on campaign finance reform, I hit on creating jobs, the 4 pillars of a great nation. You got to have a strong fiscal policy, you have to educate the country, you got to feed the country, and you got to defend the country. And all of those things play into the infrastructure of the country, which I think is being whittled away at.
Speaking of defense, what ought our policy in Afghanistan to be?
Well, we don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I think we don't even know if we're making progress. The one thing we know about Afghanistan, well, actually 2 things. We're spending a hell of a lot of money, and we don't have an exit strategy.
Yeah.
Those are 2 constants about Afghanistan.
Thank you so much for appearing.
My pleasure. Good to be with you.